This content is AI generated for informational purposes only and should not be directly used for clinical decision-making.
Hello, and welcome back to the Neurosurgery Hub podcast. I'm Dr. Aris, Senior Attending Neurosurgeon.
And I'm Dr. Alara, Research Fellow. Today we're looking at a fascinating new study from the Journal of Neurosurgical Sciences, published in 2026. It's a systematic review and meta-analysis focusing on decompressive craniectomy for spontaneous supratentorial intracerebral hemorrhage, or SSICH.
This is a timely discussion, Ilara. For our residents and students listening, we know that SSICH remains one of the most severe neurological conditions we face. The morbidity and mortality rates are high, and frankly, the clinical management has always posed significant challenges. We're often caught between aggressive surgical intervention and medical management.
Exactly, Dr. Aris. The paper really highlights that while we've developed various therapeutic strategies, the specific role of decompressive craniectomy, or DC, remains a point of contention in the literature. As we know, DC is employed primarily to reduce intracranial pressure and prevent secondary brain injury. We see it used in various contexts, most notably in traumatic brain injury, TBI.
Right, and that's the crux of the issue. In the TBI world, and even in some cases of spontaneous ICH, the benefits of DC are better established. But when we narrow it down specifically to supratentorial spontaneous ICH, the efficacy becomes much more uncertain. This meta-analysis was designed specifically to synthesize the available evidence to see if we can finally get some clarity.
The authors were very specific about their focus. They wanted to evaluate the impact of DC, either alone or in combination with best medical treatment, or BMT, and compare those clinical outcomes against BMT alone in patients with SSICH.
Let's dive into that uncertainty for a moment. For the residents listening, why is the role of DC in SSICH still so debated compared to, say, a large middle cerebral artery infarct, or TBI?
Well, as the paper points out, SSICH is associated with a very high risk of secondary brain injury. While DC is effective at physically creating space and lowering ICP, the question has always been whether that reduction in pressure translates into a meaningful improvement in clinical outcomes, or if we are simply increasing the number of patients surviving with severe disability. The systematic review aimed to pull together all the disparate studies to see if there's a statistically significant trend.
And that's why a meta-analysis is so vital here. When individual trials might be underpowered or show conflicting results, synthesizing that evidence gives us a clearer picture of the actual impact on morbidity. The study focused on both DC as a standalone and as an adjunct to BMT.
It's interesting you mention the combination. In many of these cases, we aren't just choosing surgery or medicine. We are looking at whether the addition of DC to our best medical protocols actually shifts the needle. The review specifically sought to evaluate these synthesized clinical outcomes to help guide that decision-making process.
For our practicing neurosurgeons, the takeaway here is that the study acknowledges that while DC is a potential therapeutic strategy, its uncertain role is exactly why this systematic review was conducted. We're looking for evidence-based reasons to take a patient to the OR for a hemicraniectomy in the setting of a large spontaneous clot.
Precisely. The goal was to move past anecdotal evidence and evaluate the synthesized impact on the patient's ultimate recovery. The paper emphasizes that because SSICH is such a severe condition, every intervention must be scrutinized for its ability to prevent that secondary injury we're so afraid of.
It's a heavy lift. If you're a medical student listening to this, remember that the goal of DC in this context isn't just about the plumbing, lowering the pressure. It's about the long-term neurological status of the patient. This meta-analysis in the Journal of Neurosurgical Sciences provides a necessary update to our understanding.
It really does. It highlights that while we have the technical ability to perform these decompressions, the decision-making process must be informed by the synthesized data of many trials, rather than just our experience with TBI.
Well said, Ilara. It's about ensuring that our surgical interventions are backed by the most rigorous evidence available. That's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Thanks for joining us on the Neurosurgery Hub. We'll see you in the next episode.